Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience as always, but we are back here in WOR PC Tier 2, and we're about to get things up and underway. Now, before we start, it is worth mentioning that for one, we do have a new lobby that is going to be set up. We did have a minor issue with some drivers connecting up, and we will, as a result, be going in and getting a new lobby set and made. So thank you for your patience as always, but joining us is also going to be a familiar face and a friendly one. It's going to be Corey Brooks. How you doing, mate?
I'm very excited to be back again. I had a couple of rounds out of it in this wildcard mystery season, but we're back and we can confirm that we are going over to Qatar. So that's going to be spicy and a little bit interesting. Fast-flowing corners all the way through sectors 1, 2 and 3. Sector 2 slows down a little bit, but then you're back flat on the floor all the way through sector 3, especially that triple right-hander. Some little bit of strain on the left side of the tyres to watch out for. So left side tyre degradation, certainly something to come into factor here.
Yeah, so Qatar, it's an interesting circuit for sure. It had mixed reception initially upon its debut, but it's a 5.4 kilometer 16-turn ramp in the heat of the desert. Only a single DRS zone here, fairly flat track with the exception of the final straight, which takes a little bit of a sharper downhill, almost inverse, although not as extreme, to that of Qatar Turn 1. Either way, it's going to be an interesting course to see, particularly through Sector 2. I am looking forward to seeing how the drivers sort of fend each other off and give each other a little bit of space through that second sector. However, we do also need to look back a little bit and reflect. So, as a reminder, folks, we have had the mystery season, and it has been quite an exciting one at that. We're going to Qatar, of course, tonight, but we have had that of which can only be described as one of the seasons with the most curveballs I think we have seen in a very long time. We've had some very consistent top runners, but we went from Monaco to Baku, to Mexico, to Canada, to the US, and now to Qatar. Imagine if we were doing this in real life. The logistics would be off the charts. The logistical challenges.
I couldn't agree with you more on that. All over the world, up and down the globe, getting yourselves to some mighty fine tracks. You know, we've seen some fair share of action going into this unknown wild card of a season, but now we get sights on Qatar. I'm excited for Qatar to say at least only one DRS zone to use to your advantage, but it is a mighty long straight, so the battles into turn 1 could go to much as 2 to 3 cars wide around that right-hander, so I'm excited to see what we've got coming into play here. I don't know who do you think could be on top here out of everybody, Sappy? You know the drivers a little bit more than I do. Anybody catch an eye out there in the field today?
Well, we can jump onto the standings. We can see Rapasa and Lund are the two drivers to be keeping an eye on above all else. They've had both 2 wins each, and they have alternated wins at that with some pretty consistent and strong performances between them. Caden Luke, also 54 points, is another driver to contend with, but it's honestly still quite tough to call. We've had a lot of drivers who we talked to, or at least observed. They have commented that a lot of it does come down to just the right conditions and the right place at the right time. Some of them have said that this is their track, or this is one that they know that they are strong at. So to have that kind of lightning strike in a bottle multiple times, as we've seen with Rapasa and Lund, is very rare, but we still have a chance for other drivers to do much of the same. Like, I'm keeping an eye on Tope, for example. He had a bad string of races in rounds 3 and 4. He got a double DNF. However, he did get a second and a third just before that in the first 2 rounds. So he's got it on tap. Another one we could look at, Larry Torkey. He has been a formidable challenger in rounds 4 and 5. He got a double podium on the trot. So he's another car to be watching out for. And I do think that a lot of these races can still show us plenty of potential. We've officially crossed the halfway point, but there's still a lot to call.
Absolutely, and you know, with it being such a mystery season, you never know what track could be coming next. Could it be the time for you to score back some crucial points, or will it be your head in your hands, upset, heartbreak, as it's a track that you're not too confident with? It's all up in the air in this season, but for Rapasa, seems to be the driver to take the lead by 18 points. It's going to be quite a fight for Leo Lund, but Leo Lund has been the driver to do it. Come out of nowhere from the back of the field to strike back at the top. So let's see what happens as we get ourselves ready. All drivers are now in the lobby after that little bit of a restart issue we had. We had to re-lobby up of a settings mishap, should I say, but all the drivers are in, getting themselves ready, so we shan't keep you waiting too much longer.
As they've got short qualifying as per, followed by a 29 lap race. Guaranteed two-stopper considering the hard tyre has been one of the controversial changes being banned in its entirety. Sort of a little bit of a strategic mix-up, forcing the drivers to really reconsider their pits and really reconsider how they're going to approach the entire race distance. We're about to go trackside, but as we have the previous race results on screen, we can see how close and hard fought to the line it was between Lote and Sprogis in round 5. Want to hear from you, of course, who you're rooting for, who you're supporting heading into tonight's round. Second half of the season officially underway. We have a few tracks that have been eliminated from the track pool, having been picked, and now tonight in Qatar. Just 4 rounds left to go. April is absolutely stacked, ladies and gentlemen, because of course we do have F125 on the horizon. We want to end the season with a bang, and you can't really say that having a quadruple header is disappointing in terms of really pushing our drivers to the limit and giving us an explosive finale.
Absolutely. I hope to see a really bold, brave finale. I want to see drivers throwing it all out there, elbows out, clashing, wheel banging, hard, controversial moments. That's what I see on the 28th of April to end off this game cycle with a bang. Give yourselves a pat on the back and to say you've ran all the seasons throughout this game to the best of your potential. But now the drivers are on the track. Things are looking to get a little bit spicy as the drivers flood the tarmac, looking to get their tyres warmed up and get themselves ready for their first opening laps in qualifying.
Well, Rapassa's going to be the first out the gate. It's going to be in the racing balls along with Riyad Sprogis. Just a bit further behind, then following, I'm going to believe, is Caden Lute in the Williams. So key things to look out for on this track. Of course, you have got some of the rubbering on the track that will help you in particular as you enter into sector 2, like we see with Rapassa right here. But all eyes are going to be how you carry speed, almost akin to Bahrain, through this sector here. It's a lot more open and flat than you would expect from an F1 entry. As you can see, there's a lot less undulation, fairly flat circuit. However, it does not mean that you still can take it for granted. It does have sort of unexpected curves, and particularly this triple apex right-hander at full tilt. It is a precision test to stay within track limits while still giving it maximum speed.
Oh, absolutely. This certainly is one of those tracks that can catch you out at your finest. But with Rapassa now, as he comes down to start his lap, opens that rear wing for the one and only time in the start of his lap to finish himself off with the only DRS aided part of the track. It's quite phenomenal, really, where the overtakes come in Qatar, because you only get that one boost. It's more for sector 3, the runs on the straights, but for Rapassa, sending it all out, really trying to maximise the track limits. Very easy there on the throttle, very little braking, barely touching it as we come through sector 1. No braking at all, just lift and send, and flat through the floor, through the corners we go to finish sector 1. Looking fairly squared away, a little bit squirrely on the hairpin-esque, I would say. Not too clean, maybe wanting to rerun that lap a little bit, but he's looking very collected here coming into sector 2.
Looking like a nice sweep on the way through and into the end of the second sector now. He's got to peel it out to the right side and then narrow up once again, crossing into 7th gear, barely touching the brink, then potentially 8th, but stays in gear 7, hangs it all the way through, practically foot pinned there. Let the downforce carry your car through this sector, although with a bit of engine braking into 6th, it's going to be just enough to slow you down perfectly to still keep that car at maximum pace and perfect rev range to power out of the corner. Then up to the line here, Rapasa sets the initial benchmark, 20.3. Is there going to be any way of challenging that? There's going to be a 4.55 for Sprogus, a 5.38 for Caden Luke. More cars now coming up to the line. Here's going to be Bieda and Lund, as they will not complete. Bieda in the other Ferrari coming up to the line now is Tilke, 0.487. Zontos with a 2.83, so just pipping the opportunity and getting slightly ahead of Rapasa right here. Bieda with a 0.631. Alekis coming up to the line next. In the FVR, Mercedes, it's going to be his second place, a 0.291, just 8 milliseconds away from the Alpine.
A couple of drivers getting themselves into the pits, not happy with their laps there, thinking they can do a little bit better, maybe catching themselves an invalidation, but there is plenty of time to go. Just under 14 minutes of qualifying, lots of time. With it being a 1 minute 20 lap and just how much you're on the throttle, the laps come very quickly. That's to say the least. But who's next? That JST in that McLaren. Oh no, he's in the pits, never mind.
He lost his front wing.
He has lost his front wing. A bit of a moment maybe for the McLaren driver.
He's going to have to get that quickly fixed and get back out there, because that will be a knock to the confidence. He needs to build that back up once again. Curious thing to note, they do see two JSTs. The one with an extra E is, in fact, John Marquardt. I think you said earlier, Corey. So it's just a bit of a distinction to make. They like to keep us on our toes here in the commentary box. Let's put it that way.
Oh, yes, they certainly do. I had to do a little bit of digging to find out who was the real JST. And will the real JST please stand up? But it is the one with the extra E. That is Joel Marquardt. And JST, with just two E's in the word T, is the real JST.
JST OG, currently in P19. But still has plenty of time to make that one up. We're going to be Balint, Lekes coming into the pits. First runners and first initial cohort making their way back into the pit lane, as those who didn't quite get a chance to set a lap, like Lund, Zorzo just behind, they are going to get a second lease of life here. 12.5 minutes to go, still plenty of time, and with a 1 minute 20 lap, this usually affords you about 4 opportunities to get something on the boards that's concrete and material. But we'll see, with the first run effectively flubbed or abandoned, will they have the confidence to go for run 2?
I've got to say, I've been on board with Leo Lund throughout his outlap, and he's really sending it hard through the corners, really trying to generate that tyre temperature needed to get a good banker time on the board. Just under 12 minutes to go as he does cross the line to start what will be his first time lap, providing he can get the time up there. He's been out for one run already, and as he comes around turn 1, will this be the time to go on the leaderboard? Fires it around turn 2, really sending it to the left-hand side. They're not even touching the brakes. It's quite remarkable to see on the telemetry the way these drivers are attacking the corners as he just lifts and fires it round to the right and keeps it flat all the way around turn number 5, and then he's on the brakes. That is where the harshness of the pedal gets pushed into the harshest braking zone on the circuit, the hairpin of turn 6, and coming into sector 2 again, he's barely braking, just easing it. It's all throttle management here in Qatar.
I think as well, pay attention to the gears he uses as he goes through the different parts of the track. We saw in particular in the third sector with that penultimate corner, rather than going heavy on the brakes, the drivers actually use the gearbox, bit of engine braking, to pull that car around the corner and keep it under a tight leash. You'll see right here, that's not going to be Leo Lund's a cup of tea. He's going to keep it in gear 7, but some drivers, rather than using the brakes, will actually use the drivetrain to peel them back into line. Either way, up to the line now. It's a 120, it's a 272, and it's going to beat Zontos by 11 tenths. But Zorzo is going to go one step further. He's saying, actually, thank you very much. I will take that into the low 2s.
Oh, beautiful lap there from Zorzo to get himself up into provisional pole position. I'm now on board with Van Bussel. He's coming down towards the line. What sort of line will we see? Oh, it's not a push lap. I think this will be to the pits. He's a 126 so far, unless he's done that double out lap. Trying to generate the tyre temperature needed. It is indeed.
Oh no, I think he maybe just messed up his lap and peeled off.
Out of that.
He's not actually going to be pushing on this one either, so curious. for their strategy, their wider game here in quali. But JST, the real one this time, is going to be out on the track, getting a second shot. Remember, last time they lost their front wing, so a lot of pressure rides on this one.
Yeah, watching on board with the McLaren, he certainly is pushing through the triple right-hander now. This is where things get a little bit sketchy. You want to keep your foot flat to the floor, but the slightest miscalculation on your steering angle will send you wide and invalidate, especially around the final turns. 15 as well, flat to the floor. You want to keep it pinned, and now you lift and fire it round 16. Oh, maximum use of the track limit, so you see that outside tyres just gracing that white line as he crosses it to the finish line to set a 20.5. So he did get a time on the board. It was much needed from the real JST.
And as a last few cars now on the board, Leroy Brown along with Danny Van Ruyten heading into the pits, meaning that he was not going to set a time for a few minutes yet. But Leroy Brown, unfortunately, I think just invalidated there. Just taking a bit too much on the outside, and that is going to prove to be another death nail for Brown's qualifying right now. 2 invalidations here, and much to do to get this one where it needs to be.
I'm going to say Gabor Santos gets himself up into provisional P2, separates himself between gets himself in between Zorzo and Leo Lund. The 2 drivers who didn't get their first time laps out there on their second runs managed to take the top spots, but Gabor on his second run managing to get himself in between there.
Yeah, so an interesting shake-up and an interesting split with how the drivers are giving themselves plenty of chances, but you can sort of afford that. Now, quick wins, looking at the timings with 8 minutes left to go in qualifying. Sector 1, fastest time is going to be Leo Lund with a .697, 29.6. Then it's going to be Sector 2 with Gabor. In fact, is going to be a 26.499. And then Sector 3 is going to go to Diego Zorzo, making about a 10th and a half in that final sector in particular. Really showing his stuff in that higher speed situation. I think his car's certainly dialed for that. And he currently stands holding the Sector 3 best. So, top 3, we've got inverse order for sector domination.
Ooh, interesting. Maybe they just need to get a bit of information behind them to see where they can improve in those sectors. If one driver can nail all 3 of them together and get that perfect pole position time, it's going to be the time to, one of the times to set yourselves above the rest. Leo Lund, somebody I'm keeping my eye on, somebody who could potentially do it, find those hundredths, those thousandths in qualifying times. Potentially even Rapassa's well within striking distance, just within a 10th if you look at the times there from P1 down to P5, all within a 10th striking distance of that pole position time.
Well, I think Rapassa is still on his initial run in terms of timing, so he's now going to be pushing for his technically second attempt and seeing what he can make out of this one. We'll stick on board with him for the time being as he makes his way through the first couple of corners. It's a very Bahrain-esque and sort of aping a lot of those chokes, although squared off at the top end before diving tight into that left-hand hairpin at the end of the sector. That's going to be turn 6. Coming through now to 29.766. So that's going to be about half a tenth slower than Leo Lund, but still about a tenth faster than their original run. Coming into sector 2 now, sort of riding those sweeping left and right hand corners, but once again diving on the brakes. Gear 4, a little bit of a wobble on the exit of that one here, but getting on the power nice and neatly again once they got past the apex. 56.2 so far and 26.495, so actually looking like the fastest sector 2 time. Just needs to pin it and carry it all together. This could be into the .1s. Rapassa just needs to nail this next sector and make this one happen. Final corner making its way up to the line here. Rapassa could have this one in the bag up through .194. Little time loss in sector 3, but that's not going to stop him from taking provisional pole with 5 minutes to go.
Absolutely not. Zozo has invalidated his third run, his second run, what would have been his second timed run. He is going to dive into the pit, sir, so no response from him. Riyad Sprogis gets up to second, though. Just falls short of Rapassa. Not by much. Could be well within contention, is the Red Bull driver there, Riyad Sprogis. Anybody else crossing the line to improve on their times? Brilliant Alicus, maybe?
It's coming up through. Hitala's going to go 139, so the Alpine is not going to stop for anyone. 0.237 from Alekis is going to leapfrog him up into 5th place, but Hitala, where did that come from? Crazy thing is, he hasn't even got any of the best sector times. This is just raw consistency that has carried him through here.
Oh, Tyler, I've known as maybe got the qualifying time, but can he make it consistent in the race? Can he hold that top spot? And with that one DRS on, it's going to be swaps for days going down into turn 1 between the front runners. It's certainly going to happen for however many laps we've got to run. I'm not entirely sure. Wasn't feeling too great, so my mind's a bit squabbled and squandered today. So hopefully we can get through this nice and bonny.
So 29 laps we have here at Qatar after the qualifying session. JST's coming up to the line. I think if the consistency of his lap time is anything to go by, I think he'll be just fine. JST OG into 0.345 and P9 right now. Will his teammate be able to follow up as he comes through the penultimate corner and now up to the line? He's about a 10th down on his teammate coming up through the final corner. He's going to actually abandon into the pits. Small time gain in Sector 2, but it's not enough to write home about. Gabor Zontos, of course, qualifying surprise, and he's going to be heading into the pits with an invalidation in the very last corner. So not looking good for him there. The last couple of cars are going to be moving their way round as Cameron Dowds has surprised and really brought a bit of a wild card into this whole fight. He's got a 0.188, so he's slotting himself neatly between Hitala and Rapassa, and joining the Alpine on the front row for the time being.
Absolutely. This well is not over yet. We still have plenty of time to get the rest of the drivers back to the track to set their final runs, but it's going to be the run of their life as you see some drivers starting to come out onto the pit exit now. We have the Vertasada V-Carb and Aston Anna Kick Salbro coming out. We have Daniel Gottschalk coming out, as well as Danny Van Ruyten, Diego Zorzo, Ferrari, that's got to be Leo Lund following through as well.
Jose Van Ruyten, he needs this right now. Him and Brown, remember, both don't have times on the board. They need this to happen. There is no other way that we can slice it.
I've seen DVR do one-shot qualifyings out of nowhere. I have seen Danny Van Ruyten do a one-shot qualifying, take a pole position, but does he have it in Qatar? He's not been able to get the time lap on the board so far, neither has Leroy Brown, but maybe just struggling with the track limits. It's very easy to invalidate in Qatar. There's a lot of runoff, a lot of areas to run wide, and those white lines come at you from out of nowhere, especially when you're trying to push the car to the maximum of its potential, using all the grip possible. But for Danny Van Ruyten, he needs a perfect time. He needs to get some sort of time to get himself within that front row, potentially set himself up to be right within that scrap. It's going to be a huge DRS train for 29 laps.
And this is going to be crunch time for him here, realistically, as we're coming up now and into what will effectively be the final run. Even a mid-20 will still put him on the board and still leapfrog him past a couple of other cars. Of course, 0.139 is the golden time to be, already kicking the rear out, and I think feeling the pressure of that final run. Goes very wide into turn 2. I think he's cracking under the weight of the situation here. It's not looking good for DVR as he's going to throw his car through, invalidates on that corner. That's going to be turn 4, proving to be deadly for him. JST and Cameron Dowds both retiring out of the session, feeling they can go no further. But last couple of runs from the entire course, and Van Ruyten at best is going to be sat P19, but that could change if Leroy Brown can hook this all together. Eyes on him.
Currently got my eyes on Diego Zorzo, who's looking to be the man to contend for pole position. Cameron retiring early on. He's not going to set a final run, so could ultimately be jumped by pretty much the entire field, all except Danny Van Ruyten, who's had that bit of a disaster, though, in turn 4. He just anticipated a bit more understeering, a bit more slide that didn't come for him. Zorzo almost a 10th up on his time now as he's coming into Sector 3, just dispatching of the triple right-handers. 2 corners to go as he attacks the penultimate turn. This could get interesting. Could Zorzo be the one to take pole position away? Will he find it in the final turn? Any more time to gain? Burning the battery, everything you've got. That little last sprint of DRS crosses the line. It is a new pole position time by 8,000ths of a second.
Celia Lund is going to be coming in as well. 0.151. So third place for him at best here. Here come the 2 Hasses. I think it's going to be a quick sweep. That's going to be Exabox through, and then Larry Torquay up into 8th. Next couple of cars making their way through. Here's John Marquardt, aka JST, and up to the line. We'll see what he can do, what he can push. Some more cars come through. It's the Williams into P11 and P12 as JST is going to leapfrog him through. Zontos, no improvement. Repasa coming up to the line. Will that be enough? It's a new pole. 0.123 there. Immaculate time. Great run there. Hitala is going to have an invalidation, and that is going to be also Ryan Grob coming up to the line. I don't know if they got time, but we do have a crowning victor of qualifying, and pole position goes to Luca Repasa. As you can see on the board here, Repasa and Zorzo in row 1, followed by Hitala, Lund, Elekes, Dowds, Sprogis, Tilke, Zontos, and JST, aka Joel Marquardt, in 10th, followed by Caden Lute, Jerry Van Bussel, JST, Ryan Grob, aka FedEx, Zalan Bieda, Leroy Brown, Exafox, Justin Ertz, Daniel Gottschalk, and Danny Van Ruyten with no time set. Good to see that Brown did get a time on the pits, and it was enough for P16. So that is certainly something, and a bit of an explosive finale. Now, we are going to take a quick break, folks, to make sure that we are set up with the lobby. We've got everything correct, and we're all set to go for 29 laps of racing. But thank you, as always, for your patience, and we will see you after this short break, where we can talk qualifying, breakdowns, predictions, and who we are going to see potentially fighting as a challenger for this Season 20 Championship. We'll be right back with you soon. And welcome back, folks. Just a reminder of the standings heading into this next round. We have got ourselves a mighty spicy event. But heading into things, Repasa is going to be the driver to beat in all of this. He's 78 points, and he's currently just come out of qualifying looking like an absolute bullet. Leoland in 4th after qualifying as well, but 2nd in the championship. He does have some serious fighting power. Although not to be outdone, you have got the likes of Diego Zorzo, who has been a consistent challenger in the qualifying at least, but hasn't always, from my experience, been able to convert it into race pace.
No, absolutely not. But Rapasa sets himself up with a good start. He's got that pole position. He's got an 18-point lead in the standings. Can he convert this into a victory and get that little bit more breathing space as we get going? We're getting ourselves set up for who knows what could be next week. That is what makes this season a bit of a wild card, a bit of a mystery, and it could go any way, shape, or form. Yeah, Rapasa looking strong, but Diego Zorza also has a bit of qualifying pace here in Qatar. But like you say, Sapit, from your experience, he's not been able to convert that to any good finishing position here. He's still quite a margin off the lead. 44 points is quite a gap to gain back if he has any sort of championship hopes. But could he contend here against Luca Rapassa? As you like you said earlier on, the drivers are seeing the strong on this track, the more confident on that track, the worse on this track in this wildcard season.
It's going to be a tough fight, I think, at the top end, as we are going to see a lot of shift arounds. We will, of course, have a chance to maybe talk to some of our drivers later on. But one thing that I want to sort of raise a question mark to, it's a particular driver, and it's a driver that, I will be honest, it isn't looking like they're in the strongest spot heading into tonight. It's Danny Van Ruyten. Now, we jumped on board with him on his final attempt, and it honestly looked like he was completely disconnected from the car. I wonder maybe if he's got a new setup, or, well, what's happening really, but whatever it is, that car is just not working for him tonight.
No, I don't know if he could fire it up or just wasn't feeling the grip to his advantage like these other drivers could do. He was really struggling to get any sort of time on the board, even in that final run. He comes to turn 4, fires the car to the right, and the oversteer he cut the entire corner and just invalidated instantly. Really struggling here in Qatar, maybe just not to grips with it so far.
Yeah, it didn't seem like he was really able to just read the car and read the movements of it. Like, we saw him oversteer on one corner, and then understeer on the next. It was kind of unpredictable. So hopefully he's able to bring that together and hopefully get himself into fighting condition. But time will be the tell. Time will be the tell in all of this, and we will hopefully get a chance to see it in full and come to fruition as the racers are now getting into the lobby and getting things underway. But one thing we want to ask you in the audience is, who are you looking forward to seeing out track? And that's going to be a question I'm actually going to extend to you, Corey, as we have the Qatar track map once again on screen. Who are you looking to see as a driver to watch tonight?
Well, I know Rapassa's looking mighty strong and stuff, but it wouldn't surprise me to see Leo Lund come just out of the depths in there, the shadows, clawing his way back through the field. Didn't have too much in terms of qualifying pace to try and challenge back against those front runners. But in the Grand Prix, certainly a consistent driver to fight on back. So Leo Lund, somebody I'm watching out for. The likes of Keaton Luck, potentially. Don't count out that Williams driver, but not all of that. We were just mentioning him, Danny Van Ruyten. It would not surprise me to see Van Ruyten go all-out aggression if he can tune into the car. He was struggling in qualifying. Maybe he was just trialing a new setup, just maybe trying to find that extra time in the lap, and it wasn't working for him. Now he'll have to take the safe route in the Grand Prix, go with a setup that he's used to, something he can tune into and find some pace with. But I don't know, drivers to watch for me: Leo Lund, Keaton Luck, potentially Zorzo, and Danny Van Ruyten from the back.
Yeah, you can see right here, folks, we are just finalizing the lobby just to give you a little bit of transparency on the wait time right now. You can see everyone is just readying up, and we are getting ourselves in a moment onto the track. So everyone's just getting themselves and making sure that things are stable, because we have had a couple of disconnections today. Wanted to take that extra moment to ensure that everyone was connected up and firmly seated in the lobby, and that you watching at home are fairly firmly seated, as we got 29 laps of Qatar to tend with, and a pretty dicey race that's about to take place. Now, I'm going to be honest, I think we're going to see some kind of chaos on lap 1. It's one of those tracks.
Let's not forget hard tyres. Hard tyres are banned. Let's not forget that. So strategies up in the air.
Banned hard tyres, which means that I think we're going to see a massive surge of softs right out the gate. We've seen it around the rest of the season. massive surge of softs. We're going to see chaos as everyone's trying to get some early positions and leverage those Red Wall tires as quick as they can. I think there's going to be a little bit of drama and a bit of upset, particularly into turn 6. That start of the second sector, that left-hand hairpin, I think we're going to see a bit of trouble.
Oh, that would not surprise me. The harshest braking zone of the entire circuit. On the anchors, everybody trying to rotate that car around to the left and then get back on the power as quick as possible, because Qatar, known for being a very fast circuit. You're on the throttle for so much and very little braking. Saw in qualifying the drivers just absolutely lifting, sending the cars through the turns. And it would not surprise me to see turn 6 a place of drama, heartache and tears for some of the drivers. Potential unwanted contacts. But I'm excited to see what's going to happen down into turn 1 towards the final. That's the penultimate lap, that DRS game. Is it going to be all for lap 28 and then just defend onto 29? What's going to happen? It's all up in the air. I'm curious to see. But it would not surprise me to see some late lunges and some very controversial manoeuvres coming through these turns.
Yeah, it's going to be certainly... Certainly, I think... I'm trying to think of a good way to word this other than just dive bombs and full sends. But I don't know if I can word it any other way. Of course, we do expect good driving standards and we do have stewarding and sort of race control procedures to ensure that that is the case. But even that being said, we do know that these drivers like to go a little bit wheel to wheel. They do like to push those limits and keep the opponents guessing, shall we say. So I don't doubt that we will have a few drivers who are looking to get some early leverage and be a little bit strong with it. Although I don't want to hedge my bets or say that that's going to be the case. It's certainly going to be a possibility.
Oh no, I wasn't surprised to see some brave, bold manoeuvres, some potential repeats of Thomas Ronhaar, turn 6 maybe? You know, the sends into the hairpin. We saw a lot of it on the esports from the Kick Sauber driver himself. But will we see any repeats tonight here in PC Tier 2? Anybody taking some inspiration for some late lunge and overtakes, some brave manoeuvres? We can only wait to find out as everybody gets themselves ready. We have the countdowns before we are going trackside. So everybody, thank you for your patience. We've had some delays, some disconnect issues, some lobby restarting to be done, but we're getting ourselves ready for what is going to be 29 laps of what could be hard-fought racing or absolute catastrophe.
Yeah, well, we are loading into the race now. And we will see what these drivers are really capable of as things start to get underway.
Predictions? Any predictions from yourself? I've called out my driver, Sappy. Anybody that you're going to keep your eyes on?
I'm gonna keep my eye on Rapassa. I think it's a fairly straight shot. I don't really know what else to call because Rapassa's come out strong in qual. He has certainly put down some great pace. He's got particular dominance over the second sector, and I think that's going to be crucial for retention of his position, considering that will be the twistiest section. And he's tuned more for optimal pace. With the 1 DRS zone, I think he's going to have a bit of a leverage and a bit of an advantage here, provided he doesn't get stuck behind another car where he can't take that downforce all the way through. But everyone's just finalising their setups, and we will be soon heading out. This live chat as well. Do throw those predictions in as we get ourselves rigged and ready to race for one more time. And then we are having our April gauntlet to finish off the season. But this is that crucial inflection point. 10 rounds means that the last 3 are going to be fairly close. But now it's time to see what they can do. 5 red lights. The track is hot here in Qatar. It's looking nice and toasty in the evening, and it's going to be a quick getaway immediately from the top. It's also in Rapassa drag racing. This is going to be a Ferrari all the way to the inside. Rapassa and getting a bit of a lead as Lund, Alekes, Dowd, Sprugis all quickly flurrying into an attack and fight amongst themselves. It's 2 by 2. It's slicing their way through the first sector. Turns 3 and turn 4 now coming up. Red Bull on the inside. There's Alekes being pushed out wide just a little bit. He's forced to yield to make the space, but not 1, but 2 Red Bulls coming through now here. Lund is going to peek his nose in on Hitala in the 3rd, but there's a Red Bull going very deep, very wide, and has to make an escape road all the way down to 13th. Sprogis not going to be a happy bunny after that. Major Pointer shuffles down the order, and immediately going to be feeling the pressure up and down this field. There's going to be one of the Hasses, Tulki, also challenging to make up positions as they have set themselves up by the looks of things for Purton Race Trip.
It seemed like Belen Elikas and it was Rihad Sprogis came to a bit of blows, cost Rihad Sprogis to fall all the way down to P13, managing to fight his way back up to P10. So he is lurking within the points, is Rihad Sprogis. Got a lot of work to do now to fight back through the field. So Williams, Kiki Dunlop just running a little bit wide though, coming out of turn 15, trying to keep himself on the track and not pick up those warnings, those infamous 3-second penalties, as Rapasa takes the fastest lap as expected, leading the charge away after what has been a bit of a dramatic opening lap. Some very big, bold moves, fighting for position. Leo Lund, for example, fighting for that P4, now setting himself up for the next 28 laps to go, needs to settle into position. We're looking on at the tyres. It's softs all the way down the order, apart from Exa Fox, the only driver who's been bold and brave, gone on to the mediums. So like you said, Stappy, you're expecting to see the softs done and dusted out of the way, and straight away, everyone's on the softs, and there's a big send there from Gabor Santos, trying to get past Milan Elikas. He's left side by side on the exit. Can he get on through, trying to push that Alpine? But he cannot. He falls back in the order. That was brave, that was bold. The Haas, Larry Tulki, maybe opening the door for Keaton Lowe, but does not. Ooh. Big send for Gabor Santos.
You see Van Ruyten's managed to grip. Van Ruyten's gripping up. He's managing to fight a little bit, really bring a bit more heat to the track. He's got a move on Bieda, but he's immediately got that taken away from him once again, as he's sending with 110% force. He's already on the recharge. You can see it from the flashing lights. He's not having the best of luck at the start, but he's certainly made up some good time. P20 start up to now P15. Although impressive as well, Exafox still staying within the pack despite their disadvantage on the rubber. And I think they could leverage this to go a little bit further and have a bit more flexibility later in the race. Here comes Zozo going through. Hitala could make it too, but it's also a challenge from Leolund briefly on Repassa, who was briefly race lead. Now Zozo is going to take that crown and hold the rest of the field off. He's not going to see as many trades from behind, given the lack of DRS zones on the course, but he's still certainly going to have to keep his whereabouts intact, as any kind of disturbance will be immediately capitalized on, as we see with Leo Lund going for a send on turn 6 on Luca Repassa, side by side all the way through as we head now into the second sector. The RB is going to have the apex and is going to push him back down, but the intent and statement was made.
Leo Lund certainly a driver to watch, challenging against the current driver standings leader. The driver looking good for championship. Luca Rapassa under threat from Leo Lund behind as Zozo leads the pack away. I mentioned earlier that maybe somebody to watch out for. Did have the good qualifying pace, but can he convert that into a good race? It could be track dependent in this season. Nobody knows where they're going to be placing themselves. You just dropped at the track at 8 p.m. on the dot. The moment the clock strikes 8, you find out what track it is. And now we have some early dives into the pits on lap 4 already. Belen Elikas, Riyad Sprogis and Daniel Gottschalk all swapping out for medium tyres.
Yeah, it's an interesting change of pace there for the three of them, as they're all going to dive in very early on. And I think they're trying to just leverage the softs in the prime as much as they can and then get onto the mediums for the rest of the race distance. I tend to say this: you have two kinds of tyres in a race. You have the one that you actually want to be on, and then you have the other tyre that is just used to either munch the miles or serve as a stopgap for that ideal compound. And I think the roles are reversed here. I think the drivers, yes, are going to leverage those softs, but any point after 3 laps and they're going to immediately start to feel a pace degradation.
Oh, absolutely, especially with the way you're flat to the floor around these turns. That triple right-hander always comes to mind on the left side. It's brutal. It destroys that outer tyre. But you've got to do it. You have to keep your foot pinned. It's where the pace is. It's where the time is. Because your rival behind is doing the exact same thing.
Of course, you've got the mechanical grip being pushed to the absolute limit, and with the aero effectively forcing your car into the road by several hundred kilograms, you do have a lot of pressure being put on those tyres to grip, really stick and wedge themselves into the road, figuratively and literally. But mass exodus now into the pit. Van Bussel tries to go for a little bit of a sneaky and it was trying to overtake Jean Marquardt heading into the pits. However, he's got 3 seconds to his name for track limits, so he's not having the best of luck with that upwards gain. At best, he's currently going to be sitting pretty in about P17.
I've got to say, Fox, although has lost the DRS, could be in the best position here.
You make a good point. I think he could really, as we were saying earlier, just leverage those mediums, push them while he has the sweet spot of grip and longevity, and then sweep later on the rest of the field with a late soft switch.
Absolutely, he'll have that grip advantage. Everybody's going to try and maximise these mediums now, maybe even go up the entire distance. Fox just needs to maximise the mediums now. Try and not lose too much time and then slap on those softs, go full push all the way to the end. But when is the right time to call it? When is the right time to swap it as well? With having a lighter car, those softs are going to burn away a little bit slower than, say, this first stint of drivers that are running the softs out of the gate with that full tank of fuel.
I think we're going to have to play and look at this one very carefully. We have the leaders now en masse going into the pit lane. We have Leroy Brown, who's taking a brave move, along with Exapox following behind on the mediums. And we're seeing that complete inversion on the grid right now. It's a Rapasa heading in, and will he get out ahead, or will he be overtaken? Oh, it's very close there. You see Zorzo getting so close behind with Dowds, Zontos, Lut, JST, Bieda, all in a tight cohort. But how are they going to merge back in? There's going to be Van Ruyten retiring in the pit lane and deciding enough is enough. Qatar is not his track. But here goes Repasa, and just behind, Hitala is going to merge through. Although Leroy Brown is up ahead of the field right now, along with Exafox. I think they, particularly Brown, is going to be running on borrowed time. I think he's overextended those softs just a little bit. That might come back to bite him.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Tolly Atala going for that undercut with Leo Lund, or Rapasa just doing it perfectly, timing it absolutely brilliantly. Still gets out ahead of them. I know Leroy Brown may have just got a little bit more, that time loss maybe a little bit too much. He's going to fall further down the field when he does eventually come out of the pits.
It's all got to be about how you manage that tyre life. Well, safe to say either way that Brown is going to be heading into the pits this lap. There you go. He sets the trajectory nice and firm, leaving Exafox in a field of his own. And this is both good and bad. He's not going to have any kind of distractions out on the course, but at the same time, he's not going to have anyone to bounce off of. He's not going to have anyone to draft and DRS off of. And he's not going to have anyone to fight. He might just get bored. These are racers after all. They want to race, not hot lap.
No, absolutely correct. But in terms of strategy, if that's how this race is going to play, you know, you don't have the hard compound tyres. It's all about managing these compounds effectively. They're going for that one-stop strategy. Say that they are, especially with Exafox coming long on the mediums. He just wants to try and maximise the tyres. So if he loses out just a little bit of time, it's fine lap per lap, as long as he doesn't lose out too much and end up at the back of the pack after the pit stop. But with the way it's looking, how close that train is, it could very well happen.
Yeah, we are already seeing at the top end a little bit of squabbling impact the time. We see Lund, Rapasa, Zorzo in a bit of a confrontation heading through the second sector, or now into the second sector, as Rapasa tried to go narrow. Lund closed the door, and that almost afforded an opportunity for Zorzo, but he couldn't quite push in the way that he liked. All of this is going to be separating the field, but Hitala is making some decent headway. He's slowly chipping away at that lead Exapox has brought, who is still, reminder, got to take a pit stop. We'll see how this pans out for him. He was in P20, but has now leapfrogged the field. This won't last, but it's a good indicator that he's willing to experiment, and this could be a high risk but high reward play if he matches this one up.
Oh, Jerry Van Bussel's going for one on JST, which will be Joe Marquardt. It's not the real JST, but he is certainly going to try and fight for it.
So Bussell is going to have another 3 seconds added on to him as well, so that's going to make 6. And I think Zontos has also got 3 seconds. There's contact made, as that's going to be Jerry boxed in by the 2 McLaren cars, left and front. He had nowhere to go. He was bumping the diffuser a bit, eventually having to relegate himself into P13. And now Marquardt along with JST will have a fighting chance to move forward. With Zontos now being stuck behind Balantalekis, and big contact, major contact made into turn 6.
Oh, what has happened there? Just the concertina effect. Everybody jamming those anchors on, trying to slow the car down. It's now Cameron and Larry Tolkey side by side. Can Tolkey get ahead? No, Cameron does. Does manage to keep that move going. Wow, that was disastrous there into turn 6. Anybody picked up any damage? I didn't see any flying carbon. Anybody missing any pieces?
We're trying to get a bit of a read on what's happened. Doesn't look like it. Apart from Zontos, he's missing a front left end plate. So that contact did leave him a little bit in the lurch. He's going to understeer a little bit out of some of these corners, and that's where his opponent's going to strike. You have to be very careful with controlling his car the next few laps. Oh no, he's going to go straight into the pits. He's having none of it.
Yeah, he's retired. He's not happy with that one. Qatar's not his day as well with Van Ruyten. Not happy with how things are playing out for him today.
Yeah, look at the behind as well. Sorry to cut you off, dude. But Van Bossel, it looks like he's on an absolute madness right now. He's practically darted to the very inside of the course. It saw just in the background, you had a bit of a squabble with the McLarens, but even behind that, it's the Williams going absolutely to town. Then at the top, you've got Zorzo and Lund going side by side. Lund's briefly leaving the track to keep the challenge alive, has the apex through into turn 6. And both of them going to be powering out. Zorzo does eventually take the lead. Lund runs out of boost. And that will be
Red Bull
a
side
rough
by
one.
side, Riyad Sprogges and Cameron. They're fighting each other. It's not team orders today. They are absolutely scrapping.
Both give each other absolutely no love and no mercy. The Bulls have locked horns. Sprogges out on top for now, but Dowds is not going to let that one lie, considering they've both been pushing, and Sprogges, to his credit, has made up massive time following his initial incident. He's up now, fighting with the sharp end. He's got a lot to prove to the field, I think, for himself, as well as to his teammate, who's now holding the lead over.
Snagged himself a bit of a frustrated mindset, really getting the elbows out after that incident in lap 1. Fell down the order, knew what he had to do, and he's fighting back up the field. Here goes Leo Lund on Diego Zorzo. Can he make it through? Here comes Rapasa looking to also capitalise on that on the outside line, trying to make it side by side with Zorzo again. Is he going to lose 2 positions? Yes, he is. Zorzo drops down into P5. That was nice read of the racing situation from Luca Rapasa there. Sees an opportunistic move and takes it.
So looking like a precise attack there. So Sprogges and Dowds continue to trade blows, but the 2 VA cars of Lund and Rapasa into 3rd and 4th right now, and looking very smooth while they do it. You have a tale of 2s, it seems, in the mid-pack here. You've got the 2 Red Bulls, you've got the 2 McLarens, you've got the 2 Williams, and although displaced a little bit further, Gottschalk and Ertz, they have the 2 Kick Saubers as well. Gottschalk is having a major issue, though, in the 2nd sector. Now reunited with his teammate, not by choice, as Bieda and Alekis have made quick work of a mistake in the 2nd sector.
I think that may have been coming to blows with Belen Elekis. I was just on board with that. They were almost locking wheels, was the Kick Sauber and Mercedes driver, but it seems that Daniel Gottschalk just lost a little bit of time. He was on the outside line. He's maybe ran it a bit wide and had to concede the time before he picked up a bit of a track limits warning there. But he's done well to keep himself well within the train and just needs to try and fight back through the positions. Not doing well. Here goes his teammate had a little bit of a look there, Justin Ertz, but does not get on through.
A sharp ender thinks we've got Rapasa continuing his challenge on Leo Lund to get himself up into P3. Technically provisional P2, given that Exofox is still running on those initial mediums and will actually be probably looking to come in soon. I wonder how his tyre wear is doing on those medium compounds. Even though they have a lot more wear on them, it's still Qatar.
Oh, it's got to be the thermal degradation. It'll be burning, sweltering, sliding underneath that car. He's doing very well to maintain what was a 20-second gap and not lose out more time effectively. But there's only 4-lap tyre difference between him and Tony Atala. So maybe it's not too much of a difference in tyre degradation. He's managing them well. Or is Atala in full tyre management mode?
Well, in terms of the thermals, things are looking very dicey for some drivers. We're seeing thermals as high as 120, 130 degrees on core and surface temps for these cars. So particularly that left side is getting absolutely annihilated, and it's taking the thermal degradation management to a whole new level here, particularly at the front end, as you see them fighting all the way. Is Itala, Lunge, Rapasa all coming into a scrap through the first corner. Zorzo actually staying behind and mostly out of the ordeal. I think he's opting to bide his time and let them run each other out of energy before striking.
Yeah, he's putting the pressure on, making them use the battery. There's not many places to recharge, but Rapasa looking for an outside move. He may have opened the door for Zorzo to get on through. We've seen Zorzo look for opportunistic moves and take them in the past, but he was certainly going for one then. Just couldn't get the traction down to push on through. And around we go into the second sector. You know, the first sector with those fast right-handers and the third sector with the fast right-handers. That left side is burning away, as the information given to us by Sapi. 130 degrees. Can you believe it? They're absolutely molten rubber.
It's only for a split second, so it's not enough to cause any major wear or degradation in this case. However, it's still a peak temp that they're having to be acutely aware of, and any sustained high temperatures will result in your blistering and will result in your inconsistent grip levels, or just overall grip levels coming down a notch.
I'm currently keeping my eye on Rapasa. Looks to be sizing up a move on Leo Lund, but not there quite yet. Is that the Riyadh? Is that Cameron? It is indeed, looking to almost send one of his teammate. Riyadh Sprogis, Red Bull scrapping each other. Around the outside goes Cameron, looking for that move. It will become an inside line. He's got so much more grip there over his teammate. He's just the two-lap tyre difference. Oh, is that a moment for Zorzo? It is indeed. He almost lost position to Sprogis, but he's trying to fight it back.
So there's going to be Larry Tolkey as well getting involved in the fight. Out into the second sector now, through turn 6 into turn 7. It's going to be the inside line for one of the McLarens as well getting involved. The two Red Bulls continuing to be a thorn in each other's side. Dowd's just having the edge on this one, but poking the nose into the inside. Sprogis refuses to give even an inch to his teammate. All is fair in love and war, and there's certainly no love lost between these two as they continue to scrap. Dowds has got a moment to breathe as he's got a couple of crucial tenths away from his teammate, but now looking further down, the McLarens are going to be the next spotlight here. JST is going to be just getting ahead of Caden Liu as Marquardt is going to be making an excursion off into the tarmac. That is the runoff of Sector 3. Exafox finally in the pits now. Let's see where he comes out here, as he's going to be slowly meandering his way through. Unfortunately, displaced all the way down to the bottom of the order. I don't quite think that strategy has panned out, at least just yet. But we'll see if he can have a resurgence going on to his more ideal compound.
He needs to gain the time and gain it quick. He's come out at just under 8 seconds behind. It's quite a margin to gain, but with the tyre difference already, fresh softs against 8, 9, 10 lap old mediums. And there's a squabble between Tolkien and Cameron there. Cameron slamming the door closed on that Haas driver. Larry Tolkien's trying to fight his way through, but he just can't get there. Riyadh Sprogis looking for it around the outside of JST. Can he make it stick? He's certainly looking like he's going to try. Keeping it to the outside, which will become the inside line as we get going around turns 10 and 11. Can Sprogis pull it off? He looks like he's still side by side, still fighting for that position. Oh, that's brave, that's bold, but he can't get on through. He may have opened the door for Keaton Lutt to have a little go and a little gander to fight on through, but not quite yet.
Not quite having the opportunity to go for it at this point, but he's still got the chance here. We're halfway through the race, folks. We are one stop in for all cars. Exapox now having pitted and actually making up some decent time on those softs, but now he's going to face the same problem that the rest of the field did just at the start of the race not too many minutes ago. He's going to have a lot to deal with, as those tyres will have a very limited shelf life. But Zorzo is going to go alongside Rapasa, is going to get that move out of turn 2 into turn 3 here, has the apex and slices his way up into P3. Is he going to continue that momentum? Getting very close to the back of Leo Lund. Rapasa keeping the challenge up and not letting him get any further than 2 tenths away. Down at the bottom of the order, there's also some squabbling as Brown is going to get a move on Justin, but Justin pokes the nose and refuses to yield the spot.
Leroy does eventually get on through. The tyre difference there for Exafox really being shown through these turns. You see the grip advantage, those tents just dropping away corner after corner. He's going to be on the back of that pack within the next lap easily. But then he's got the problem, can he get on through? Can he fight through even with that grip advantage? It's all for the corners. I don't know what he's going to do in terms of DRS. He'd maybe turn 1 and maybe move up 2 positions at best. But he needs to get the moves done before those soft tyres start to burn away and he starts to feel that degradation. We saw the drivers jump off as early as 3 laps into the Grand Prix.
Don't forget as well, you have got those compounds dealing with the thermals and dealing with, as well as just normal life, just cooking too much. So unless you've compensated for that with a bit of your setup, you've maybe adjusted like your suspension geometry and your toe values, you're gonna have a bit of a fight keeping those tires calm and in an ideal window. I want to stress as well that the core temperature is the real one that matters. So consistently on average across the lap, you're looking at core temperatures between 100 and 110. But you do see those flash points where it briefly touches that scary 130 mark, but that's only through the most laterally loaded of corners.
Oh, absolutely. So corners like that fast triple right-hander where you're absolutely sending all the load onto that left side of tyre, just heats up the core to beyond limits that you don't want to see appear on your screen, but it is only for a brief moment, and that's where most of the tyre degradation will come from in Qatar on that left side, is when you hit that flash point, almost flash boiling the tyre for that brief amount of time before you're aided with that right-hander, which allows it to remove a little bit of that stress on the left-hand side. With that left-hander, sorry.
We're seeing many drivers now heading into the pits. They've used their time on the mediums. It's going to be a double medium by the looks of things. We see Sprogis Bussel both heading out onto a new set of the yellow walls. I think most of the options basically boil down to what order of soft, medium, medium would you like with your race today? And we're going to see that come to fruition. Hitala, along with Lund, Dowds, Tilke, Marquardt, Gottschalk, heading into the pits. Sprogis and Bussel having done so just a lap prior. And then the question mark now becomes when this top cohort decides to go through. Although there has been an issue, there is going to be Grob losing control by the looks of things and spinning out on track. Local yellow called. Luckily no major ramifications, no damage either. But my predictions and my data suggests that medium tyres at this point, about 11 laps on the trot, looking at about 40% wear.
Oh, so if the drivers are choosing to swap those tyres now, go for that double medium stint. What's going to happen with Exafox?
But I think he's breaking up his stint on the softs and looking to sync up with the leaders. I mean, look at where he is now. He's right on the back of Justin Ertz and is going to be closing in big time as time is of the essence here. He's going to follow through.
Oh, he's in.
He is going to head in and he's going to jump onto that second set of mediums. He's going to rematch himself with the rest of the order in order to get himself back into equal footing. So this is effectively the second and final stop for most drivers, unless they have any major issues. Most of the field now onto the medium, and that is going to be following suit with the leaders in just a few laps time as well.
I'm going to say it's very, very smart thinking from Exafox. Although it comes out at the back of the pack, he's back in the DRS after going for that opposite strategy. Had to use the soft compounder tyres, used them just to catch back up to the pack after that huge time deficit that we saw. And now he's there right behind Justin Ertz within the DRS, so still within plenty of opportunities to gain back up in the order.
Well, what's going on though? I have to ask with Van Bussel. He's got 19 seconds of penalties. He's got 3 track limits penalties, plus a 10-second for corner cutting and gaining 1 position. Now, that corner cutting, depending on the context, we didn't see it, of course, on broadcast, but we do tend to see those penalties on the track being appealed and sometimes removed. The main thing, though, is those track limits. I think he's just pushing way too hard, and that is serving as a major detriment.
It could just be maybe removable. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not known Qatar for its questionable track limits. You know, you normally pick up a warning. You've crossed the white lines well and truly, and it's well within fur of limits. So if you're over that white line, those 19 seconds, like you said, the 10-second potentially being removed if it was contact-driven, force majeure maybe. But those 9 seconds of track limits, I don't see potentially being removed.
Yeah, well, you do get to double warnings. You tend to get double warnings every so often on the game. However, 9 seconds of track limit penalties indicates that any kind of double warning is at most going to nullify 3 seconds of that. The other 6 seconds would be genuine and would most likely stay. So unless you have a very strong case, you don't see that kind of penalty being overturned. And in Bussel's situation, this is going to relegate him right down to the bottom.
Absolutely. He will never see points with that finish the way things are going. He had a pretty good strategy. He's boxed. He's got 3 laps on those mediums so far. Could potentially have fought back up in the order. He is within that DRS train, but with those time penalties, ultimately will be finishing at the back. It's an inevitability unless something disastrous happens and another driver catches themselves 10 seconds behind, 20 seconds behind. But for that, it will be Van Bussel to the back of the field.
And then at the front of the field, there's Alekis heading into the pits. We won't see Ryan Grob do the same, but at the front, you've got Lut and Rapasa, both of them on still that long stint for the medium. And this might be a risky play to finish on the softs. I wonder if that's what their game is. They're going to try and go soft, medium, soft here in Qatar and just really push it right to the ragged edge. Now keep in mind, they're going to be running about 50 to 55% at this stage, and I want to stress that is an aggressive estimate. That's assuming that they are driving with a lot of scrub and they're not really doing much in terms of tyre conservation, so they're going to really feel the loss of grip. But if they can manage this for a few laps longer, they will be able to make softs viable at the end, even if it's a bit of a squeeze on the final couple of laps.
Absolutely. Look at the time difference there. It's an 18-second gap. If you put it into aspects, though, Leo London, 1.5 second off, 16 seconds for Ryan Grob to the front 2 runners. It's an 18-second, even if they pit. With the way those soft tyres were working for Exeter Fox, he had 3 seconds down within a lap and a half. It's going to be a fight and a scrap all the way to the end. Now, that is presuming that this is the strategy they're going to go for. If they dive into the pit, slap on those soft boots, it is going to be a fight through the final order towards the finish line.
Here on lap 21, they've just started. Rapasa and Luke continue to trade. Lund is going to inherit third, as that's going to be Ryan Grob now going into the pit lane. After there's a little mishap, though, and spin, that will be him out. And Van Bussel is going to retire from the session. I think he's decided 19 seconds of penalties probably is a little bit much to be able to come back from. So he's going to save the mental, he's going to save the car, and he's going to bring it back in full force next round in April.
He showed up, he tried. The track limit's just a little bit too much. He was flirting with the white lines a little bit too closely, and well, play with fire, you get burned, but he will save the mental, save the car for next week, as who knows what is yet to come. I'm excited for that. It always adds that anticipation. What's it going to be? What's it going to be? The excitement starts to rise. You never know what is to come, what circuit you will see, and who the victor will be. But for now, Keegan Lott and Rapasa still going strong, 15 laps on those medium tyres, but Leo Lund is gaining. It was 17 seconds, now 15.5.
Yeah, it's a ticking time bomb here, but they need to stretch out those mediums just a few laps longer, and then they will be in that soft compound window. Lap 24, I think, is going to be the estimate or the goal for these two, and they can come out on 25, push it all the way to the end here. You can't take those mediums to the end. You will be at a high delamination risk by about lap 26, so it's not going to be worth the call. Leroy Brown's going to be our 4th retiree as he ducks out in the pit lane, having taken penalties and not
Oh,
letting that one
huge swabble going into first sector there. Hatala fighting away with Sprogis, Leo, London, Zozo, all getting the elbows out side by side. Zozo's not giving an inch, he's defending those positions. He really does not want to lose out here, making it side by side with Cameron. Can he get that position back? He switches to the inside line into the hairpin. They're still side by side on the exit. It'll be Cameron who will come out with the upper hand. He will have that optimum line going up into second sector and will take that position away.
It's going to be...
Zozo dropping positions.
It's a Zozo, I think, had to yield a little bit coming out of the 7th and 8th corners. He didn't want to fight too much with Dowds to the point where that put them in potential high risk and put them in danger. I think that was a smart move there from Zozo to peel away when he knew the battle was lost and then come back stronger in the next opportunity. You don't want to overextend yourself at this point of the race, because to end it off track and end it with tears would have put effectively all his work that he's done, all the great work that he's done, to shame.
Almost 3 seconds gained from Leo Lund onto Keaton Lutt there, so you can see the difference in tyres. 17 laps for Keaton Lutt and Rapasa, and it's really showing now in the timing table.
Yeah, really start to whittle that gap down, but Sprogis is going to be the new flag bearer of that second queue, as he's going to overtake Lund heading into turn 1 and manage to hold it going through the rest of the first sector, where Lund has now got his own challenge in the form of a certain Tony Hitala.
Hitala, very fast driver, known to get his elbows out and to scrap for positions. He's also a good points, consistent points finisher. Does not surprise me to see him up there well within the fight for what could be the race victory, depending if the front two are yet to pit. I mean, they're going brave, they're going strong. It wouldn't surprise me to see them try to go the distance, but punches, delamination, well within the risk. It's up to those to try it, but will we see them try it here in Qatar? They've got 6 laps to go on those medium tyres if they want to risk it, or if not, they dive into the pits now, slap on those softs. 6 laps, definitely doable, but they're going to feel a little bit grim towards the end.
Surge and a sweep, as Dowds is going to be continuing to put pressure on Hitala meanwhile. And we will see this last minute surge from this, well, gaggle of cars. You've got a healthy dose of action. It's all going to be coming through the mid-pack. Here comes Lund. Hitala as well. Quick chopping and changing on the inside lines. There's going to be playing a game of hopscotch and leapfrog as they try to get to the inside as quickly as possible. Hitala leads that little fight, but major contact being made with himself and Sprogis as they go both through into turn 2. And he has to take a bit of evasive action. Still holding on to the corner. The Red Bulls come together. That's going to be Sprogis pushed out. And Zozo has a chance to go for it here into turn 6. Still holding the apex and holding on to the fight as much as he can. Sprogis still wants this move. He still wants this spot. And he's going to fight tooth and nail for it, despite that front left, or front right, sorry, wing getting absolutely annihilated. In fact, the same as his teammate. Dowds, I think, has also got that same damage.
Oh, you see Larry Tulk is really scrapping for it, making it side by side with the Rebel. He does try to get on through, and he does get on through. Now it's the McLaren of Jean-Marc Quad. It is the fake JST trying to get on through, but cannot as of yet. Whereas his teammate, the real JST, sat behind, waiting for an open door, waiting to follow his teammate counterpart through. What's going to happen here is that anything that Riaz Sprogis can do, he's got that damage. He's struggling through some of the turns, and it's evident with the way that the cars are just passing him.
The painful reality is he hasn't got the time to be able to go in for a new wing. He's committed to this strategy to the end. He has no choice but to fight that losing battle and keep it committed to the end, despite those uphill fights. You can see he's looking almost pedestrian with the amount of downforce. You can lose an end plate and still keeping together, but he's also lost what looks like to be part of his front wing element alongside that, so he's not going to be able to carry nearly as much grip as he would hope.
Oh, struggling there. You can see how much more grip the cars ahead have got if they just bridge that gap a little bit further away. He is doing fairly well, but as he comes through onto those left-hand turns, you see the difference in downforce. It's just not working for him.
He's not able to push nearly as aggressively, even just looking at the rotation of the wheel. That inside grip is essential to getting that car rotated, and you will just suffer if even slightly imbalanced, because then that will introduce the real life counterpart. You've got things like hobbing, graining, although I'm not sure to what degree that is simulated here. Curiously, Rapasa and Loot, they're going to be committing all the way to 20 laps on the mediums. Now, this could be either an extremely deep medium stint, which again could leave them in delamination territory if they haven't managed those tires well, or could be a strategic masterstroke if they have managed well and are able to carry and nurse those tires through to the finish line, despite doubts rapidly approaching, now 7 seconds and dropping on the clock.
Yeah, they are closing in and fast, but with only 3 laps to go, they're not up to the back of those front 2 runners as quick as I thought they would be. Maybe this is what's encouraging them to stay out and maybe risk it. Just focus a little bit on the tyre management. You're not dropping too much time, although it is 6.5 seconds. They may be able to survive and withstand it.
Got to withstand. He's got to stay strong and remain resilient, as these final laps are going to prove absolutely crucial on 2 fronts. For one, this fight from P3 downwards is going to get more and more explosive. However, they've still got to rein it in and find their internal limits. You cannot afford to be overzealous at this stage of the race, because one foul move and it is game over. Next up, these top 2, we need to decide what their game plan is and how they're going to be managing all the way to the end. Remember, it's certainly going to be a risk of delamination, which isn't uncommon with these wildcard races. With the hard tires being banned, you don't have that security and safety of the optimal pit strategy, and they will still have to defend as the other drivers work to catch up. Zorzo and Dowd side by side through turn 2 and challenging each other all the way in through the first sector. Open up the taps, hold the apex of the line. You can see Larry Torquay doing much of the same in the background, but there's going to be the Red Bull holding the apexes on the right side, but with Zorzo remaining resolute, he's going to be holding the apex into turn 6. Bit of contact between the two, looking very dicey, but quick on the throttle. Dowd is not going to let that stop him.
No, absolutely not. Dowd is still going to try and push on through and get that lead. And now there's an open door for Tyler to try and get through on Zorzo. Zorzo defends that well. Tyler looking for any open door. But Cameron Dowd's doing very well to keep that car under control, even with the contact between him and Zorzo. Secures that P4 as it stands. And with 4 seconds gap to the front 2, Leo Lund almost had a second gap to Cameron Dowd with all that squabbling.
I have to sort of call a question mark on the medium tyres behaviour now, because 2 laps to go. I don't know if the mediums suffer from that aggressive drop-off in the same way that the softs do. And they have been slowly dropping off in terms of pace, but I don't know if it's super aggressive by comparison in relativity to the softs and even to the other drivers who are out there right now. So we take a quick look at them and we will see just exactly what they are capable of with less than 3 seconds to go.
Well, Marquardt picking up a 3 seconds, and I'm sure that that's going to be removed. It seems to be part of a squabble and a fight. He does look to try and get through on Larry Tulkey again. He's got the inside on that double right, and there's contact between the Haas and McLaren. He's sent into a ghosted mode. He is still trying to fight on back. Did very well to keep that car going in a straight line, and he's still looking for an open door. He's still fighting away with that Haas. Marquardt versus Larry Tolke, throwing it all out here, and he's had a really bad line. He's all over the place. He lets his teammate go on through. So swapping the positions there, he's had a disastrous attack, and he's barely keeping the car going.
Yeah, so Marquardt, something's going on there. He's had a major wobble. Hopefully he regains the confidence quickly while he's at it. But he's not looking like he's firmly planted in that car, and maybe the penalty that he's got to serve and will be deducted from his time might be affecting his decisions by letting his teammate go through as a potential chance here to really disrupt and reel him back in. But final lap here, Rapasa is going to get the overtake and the lead into lap 29, but 1.5 second stand between, well, I was going to say Lund, but Dowds has gone for an attack into the last lap and first corner. The Red Bull, despite its ups and downs, is going to be challenging for the podium. Will the Ferrari respond in kind? And will we see that same energy being mirrored by the top two as the packs have now converged within a second? There's going to be down to 8 tenths, and Loot is now going to have 2 fights on his hands. The fight ahead with Rapasa and the fight to keep Dowd or maybe Lund at bay. Let's see how they trade heading into Sector 2.
I don't think Luck can do it. He's trying to get as close as possible to the back of Rapasa just for that last little sprinter slipstream, that last little dose of DRS before you cross the finish line. But Rapasa's prepared. The battery is fully charged and he's ready to defend against any attack. But Cameron is all over the rear of Keaton Lund. Could this be a P2 on the cards for Cameron Dowds? Leo Lund, can he do anything about it? Keaton Lund needs to defend like his life depends on it. Look how close the Rebel is. Look at the traction and the grip he's got out of 15. He's now going to look for the outside line on 16. Can Cameron Dowds do it? He's certainly going to try, and he does. Just managed to pull ahead of Keaton Lund and take P2 out of the final corner on the final lap, and it's a drag race to the line, but Keaton Lund just manages to keep P3 in that final podium position. Look how close London Zorzo were from snatching it away. That was very close in the final run, and what a finish to go. But Rapasa takes a well-fought victory and 24 laps on mediums to secure it.
What a showdown right to the end as well. Seriously impressive from everyone out on that course, and nothing short of a masterclass being well handled. I was fully convinced that they were going to go onto the soft. I thought it was extremely risky. I wasn't sure that they were going to commit all the way, but clearly they have done some magic in the tyre management department and were able to both ride it out all the way through. Lut putting on an amazing fight as well to really put some pressure on Rapasa. Unfortunately, he was caught on the unawares, and Dowd was able to capitalize with just a superior grip out of the last corner, and that was a heroic move into the end. But we'll come to the podiums, and then we will see our crowning drivers in full, as well as some highlights.
Oh, remarkable. Remarkable that they've managed to make those medium compound tyres last 24 laps. We know the hard compound can do some mileage, but for the mediums to do that, that's unknown territory. But you could see the pace difference on that final closing lap. 7 seconds dropped to 5, then to 3. Then before you knew it, they were right behind. And in the final corner, Cameron Dowds takes Keaton Luck for P2. And what a final showdown it was. Absolute remarkable stuff.
Rapasa taking the crowning spot and confirming what we had in the back of our minds, but I think he's settled himself well and truly as the current leader of the championship. Now 3 wins under his belt. Dowds in a second, with Loot in third, and then following that we have Lund, Zorzo, Hitala, JST, Larry Tulki, Joel Marquardt, and Balenta Lekes in your top 10, closely followed by Exafox with a actually really good strategy all in all. The alternate clearly proving to be quite favourable and did slingshot him up 6 positions relative to his start. The P11's going to go to him along with Riyad Sprogis, nursing the car home to a P12 after some damage and a bit of squabbling on the course. Gottschalk and Bieda, then Brian Grob and Justin Ertz, followed by Leroy Brown, Jerry Van Bussel, Gabor Zontos, and Danny Van Ruyten, all retiring out following penalties / a couple of issues on the course, leading to them making a unceremonious exit from the race, but hopefully they return in fighting form next time out. We're going to hopefully as well see if we can get a couple of drivers in to discuss with us, have a bit of a chat about their race. We can already see we've got Rapasa and Dowd in. We'll see if we can get Caden Loot in for a chat as well, but time will tell. Give him a couple of minutes, but I think thoughts for us before we talk to the drivers. Seriously impressive final couple of laps there.
Oh, absolutely. It could have been anybody's for the taking. They could have just maximised the medium tyres with the grip a little bit more and caught the likes of Rapasa. We could have seen a scrap all the way through the final lap, just off that tyre difference, the deficit. You saw it in the final turn, how Cameron just overtook Keaton Luck with ease on that grip advantage. What could have happened to Rapasa if they'd just been that little bit closer?
Well, let's see what the drivers make of it. It does look like we are just going to have Rapasa and Dowds on this. So let's get them in. I think we're going to start with Dowds first and see what he made of that racing event. So, Dowds, can you hear us in the commentary box, mate?
Yep.
Well, first things first, great performance out there. Really shows your stuff. And in the end, it was a satisfying P2 finish. But tell us, how was that race from your perspective?
Yeah, the pace in the race was amazing, to be honest. The car just felt amazing. I don't know if I went a little bit wrong on strategy. I think it was the best strategy, to be honest. We were just a bit too much battling to catch up to the front two quick enough. But yeah, it was a really fun race. I came into this not really expecting to be on the podium in the first race, to be honest. With this grid, everyone's just absolutely rapid. I was really pleased to even be P6 in qualifying, and then I knew I could just build on that because I've usually got better race pace. And then yeah, there's good battles throughout, and it was really fun.
It certainly was impressive to watch out there. Main thing that stood out for me, and one thing I was curious to hear your perspective on, is a little bit of the squabbling that you had back and forth with your teammates. So quite a few times you and Sprogis were fighting out on track. So what do you make of that one?
Yeah, it was fun. It was clean. I can't actually remember too much of our battles, to be honest. I think my main battle was with the Aston Martin. I think I was fighting my teammate a little bit, but not as much as I was fighting the Aston. But yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, well, it certainly looked like fun because you were chopping and changing up in the grid like it was nobody's business, and it was certainly pretty entertaining to say the least while you were out on track. You said yourself that you didn't have like the highest of expectations for yourself, given the sort of strength of the grid, but I think, say, a pleasant surprise for you. How are you feeling in terms of rest of the championship? Of course, we've got 4 rounds and we don't know what they are, but we've already eliminated a few tracks from the pool. So how are you feeling heading into the April, well, it's what, quadruple header, isn't it?
Yeah, well, this has definitely given me a bit of a confidence boost, knowing that I can fight with these guys at the top and be able to perform. We'll just have to see what happens in the next races. Obviously, I can't win the championship, but all I can do is try and get as best results as possible for the next few rounds.
Well, and that's the best you can do, best of any of us can, but amazing performance out there tonight, mate. Corey, anything from you?
Yeah, just regarding that last lap, when you saw the time dropping and you gaining corner after corner for that final P2 position against Keaton, look, were you expecting that to come your way, or were you feeling like all hope was lost until that final turn and he was right there within the taking?
I wasn't quite sure of his ERS levels. I didn't really think I'd be able to mount a move, to be honest, and then I seen that he was so slow coming out of the penultimate corner, and I thought, right, I'll just have to go for it. And I managed to get quite far alongside before that final corner, so then I was just able to brake way later with the newer tires and just go clean around the outside.
And I was lovely done, and what a way to finish it off and secure a P2. So up here on the podium in the interview room, having a quick little chat with us, and we hope to see you again here soon. You know, it's all about damage limitation now. You know you can't win the championship, but best results possible for yourself and get yourself going with a P2. Certainly a way to do it. Congratulations.
Yep, thank you.
And there you go, folks. So that is going to be, of course, Cameron Dowds, which leaves Luca Rapasa as our winner and our driver we want to talk to just as much. Let's drag him in here. Luca, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Well, good to have you in the box, mate. And I've got to say, what a race it was. First question out the gate, strategy. Where do I even begin? Was that one stopper planned, or was that just something that you tried to see if it would work? Because that really mixed things up for us here in the box and for us watching.
No. Beginning of the race was definitely a 2-stop. If I planned the 1-stop, I would have extended the source a bit more. But yeah, I dropped behind Leo, and I could tell he was not letting me pass. He was really defending pretty hard to stay in front. So I knew if I just did the same strat as him, he would just hold me up, and I couldn't do a lot. So I think lap 16 or 15, we decided just go for the one stop. And yeah, basically from there on it was just tire saving the entire time, and yeah, just looking at the gap to the new tire runners.
I was going to say, was there any point where you were worried about making it to the end? Because, of course, you were really starting to stretch those mediums by the end, and you get into a bit of the danger zone when you're pulling the stint distances you were. So did you ever have any concerns about that?
Yeah, of course. I was in the beginning. I was really doubting if it was gonna work, but then I think lap 24, I knew I was gonna make it on the tire where I was gonna stay like maximum like 76%, which is like 1% over like the puncture territory. So I knew if I just saved enough tires, I could just make it. And yeah, the only time I was really worried was when Keaton overtook me, because he really went like even a second slower. So I was like, I'll just lead the entire time, and then yeah, just do my own thing.
Yeah, well, you effectively had control of the race from that point, and we were sort of second guessing ourselves whether you were going to go for a soft, medium, soft, but as you showed us, that alternative strategy really did pay dividends in the end. That last lap, I imagine you were feeling a little bit nervous with the other drivers fast approaching.
Not really, to be honest. I was quite confident because when I overtook Keaton, I knew I had full battery. There was quite a gap, and I had like a little bit of tires left. So I wasn't that worried. The only thing I was worried about was like maybe like last sector puncture, but that would be really unlucky. So it wasn't the main concern. It wasn't like on my mind too much.
Ah, well, either way, you kept a cool head and you rode it out to the finish, and look where you are. So that leaves one major question from me. I know it's a mystery, and we don't know the last 4 rounds, but championship, very strong position, now going to have a significant lead on your competitors. So are you hoping for any particular track to come in those last 4 as part of the mystery pool? We've eliminated a few options by this point. Is there one track you're really hoping for to potentially seal this championship out?
Honestly, I don't mind any, like, every track that's still to come, I'm pretty good at, so I'm pretty happy with that. The only track where I guess it wouldn't be optimal completely would be Singapore. But yeah, as long as it's not that, I'm pretty sure I can be minimum. I can be at the front every race. So yeah.
Well, as long as it's not Singapore, Sod's Law dictates we'll have that next week probably. But I'm not gonna jinx it. I'm not gonna jinx it. It's gonna be a great championship ahead. I know it. And if you see those performances as we have done, it's certainly going to be something special. So Corey, over to you for any questions.
Not really so much any questions, just seems to be the most adaptable driver of the grid so far. You can just jump onto any track without any practice or any prior knowledge to what track it's going to be, and still pull out the victories. Like you say, 3 this season, so it must feel good having 3 wins under the belt, and it leaves a little bit of pressure off your shoulders knowing you've just extended your drivers' championship. So not just a congrats at hand on what could be your time to shine, your championship to take.
Yeah, well, appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep, and certainly looking forward to what the rest of this championship brings. We might see you back in here in April on one of the 4 tracks, our quadruple header. But it has been a brilliant showing, and we're looking forward from both of us and the rest of the commentary team to see what we cook up. So, well-earned rest, mate. Absolutely brilliant showing tonight, and thank you for joining us.
Appreciate it.
And there you go. That was Luca Rapassa, winner of tonight, and the undisputed championship leader now with that performance. Now, these are the standings coming out of round 5, but you'll see round 6 standings coming through when we see you next week. So next time, same time as always, we will be having round 7 of 10 here in our season 20 mystery championship. We've eliminated 6 tracks out of the pool now, which means that we still have a sizable selection though, going to have still a big opportunity for a wild card to get thrown in. For every Abu Dhabi that could get thrown in, there's also a China. For every Saudi, there could be a Singapore. But you want to keep it here at WOR for all of the action, and it has been absolutely brilliant. Thank you, I want to say, to Corey as well. I know you're not feeling 100%, mate. You're really sort of coming in a little bit under the weather, lastminute.com. And he has been an absolute trooper and still delivering the amount of energy he has. So if there's anyone who should be getting a little bit of love, Corey, you're the one. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here as always, and of course with some mighty fine racing action, only brought to you here by World Online Racing in PC Tier 2. I love these. I love to see it. I love the races. Does bring back a bit of energy, although I am feeling a little bit rough and a little bit down in the dumps.
Oh, take a nap. Take a nap, mate. Have a rest. Certainly earned it. And we will see you same time next week for round 7. Thank you very much for watching, folks, and good night.